A couple of weeks ago, there was a massive drop in the Tesla stock valuation, but it wasn't the only victim. You saw a similar drop in all major industries, but primarily in tech, which begs the question, what the hell is going on, especially given how large and dramatic the drop was? We've seen continued increases in stock prices throughout the pandemic, the highest in history in fact. What changed? Well, to answer that question, let me tell you a little bit about what the Fed's been up to recently, a little bit about the history of the stock market, and why, when you put those two things together, tech stocks, especially the likes of Tesla, is seen as simply too risky of a bet in 2022, here at Techonomics. Hey, it's Carlos, always trying to provide you with an insight on technology and how it's affecting you and the world at large. Let's get some context to understand how the hell the Fed started all of this in the first place. So the Fed, or Federal Reserve, is essentially the central bank of the United States. They're tasked with three things: maximum employment, stable prices, and moderate long-term interest rates. They do this by controlling a wide array of monetary policies, but for this video, we only really care about one: lending money to banks. The Fed purchases securities from the banks, which essentially acts as a loan which the bank has to pay back with interest. The Fed does this so that they, the banks, have money available to lend to us, the people. That said, they control the interest rate of the money being lent, a rate that greatly influences what we, the consumers, end up paying in order to promote or discourage money lending and in turn the monetary supply. So what does this have to do with the stock market? Well, it all started in the pandemic. With all the economic fallout, the Fed decided to lower interest rates that banks paid. This was done to pass those low interest rates down to consumers in order to push them to borrow and spend more money, in turn artificially increasing the money supply. This is commonly referred to as quantitative easing, or QE. Well, fast forward now almost 2 years and we're seeing astronomical inflation of 7+%, the likes of which we haven't seen in 40 years, which the vast majority of economists say is due to the increased money supply. And as I said before, one of the Fed's primary responsibilities is to maintain stable prices, which isn't being fulfilled. To fix this, Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, announced that they're going to raise interest rates as much as 3 times throughout 2022, starting in March. The goal being to lower inflation by tightening the money supply, also known as quantitative tightening, or QT. But how is this related to the stock market? Well, remember what I said before about an increase in the money supply in 2020 using quantitative easing? Well, there happens to be a very solid correlative relationship between the total money supply and the total stock market cap, meaning that as the monetary supply increases, a lot of that money just ends up being shoved right into the stock market. Here's a graph that shows exactly what I'm talking about. Though it's not perfect, notice that as the monetary base increases, red line, the stock market cap, blue line, tends to increase right along with it, which begs the question, what happens to the market when the Federal Reserve increases interest rates? Well, that's actually a fairly easy question to answer. You just have to look at history. Here's a graph that shows the S&P 500 alongside interest rates over the past 120 years. As you can see, at least since the 70s, most recessions in the United States have come after an increase in Fed rates. Even more so since the 90s, as the Fed rates in the markets have become more correlated, as I mentioned before. Simply put, investors are scared. History has shown that an increase in interest rates has a high likelihood of causing a recession. And if a recession does happen, these same investors are going to lose a lot of money in perceived stock market value. So, what do investors do when they're scared? They sell. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Scared investors are selling right now that the market is high because they fear that a giant drop in the near future will happen as a result of increasing interest rates from the Federal Reserve. But why tech stocks? Why is it that the likes of Tesla, Meta, formerly Facebook, Netflix, Microsoft, and so many other tech companies are the ones that are dropping so fast? Well, whether we like it or not, tech stocks are simply more volatile. In the same way that we love that Tesla has been able to have an over 20 times increase in value over the past 2 years, we have to understand that that makes it much easier for those same gains to be lost. Why? Because the vast majority of these gains are largely speculative. And look, I love tech companies, but their astronomical value are not because of their assets, amazing products, or wondrous cash flows. Tech companies are valued so high because the public at large sees them as the future and is taking that, market dominance, and future product innovation as a given when calculating their current worth. The thing is, when the push comes to shove and the possibility of a recession is around the corner, all of that speculative fluff that is currently baked into the price of the tech stock burns away. And the only thing people really do care about are the foundations of the company. The basics like assets, cash flows, expenses, and so on. From that perspective, tech stocks are massively overvalued, which is why they have dropped so dramatically as a result of the fear of Fed interest rate bumps. Hey guys, thanks for watching another video. Please hit that like button if you want to see more videos like this one. It always does help recommend my videos to others. Also, comment down below with what you think about the Fed increasing interest rates. Is the recession on its way, or is it just a bunch of fear-mongering nonsense? Would love to hear your thoughts down below. As always, it's Carlos from Techonomics, over and out.